Welcome to the Dad Code Podcast. This is DDS, where real fans come for real sports talk and no BS. We are your hosts, Blake Melton, Bradley Newberry, and back in studio, Matthew Parker. How you doing, Parker?
Very well, very well. Good to be back.
Awesome. Good. Thank you for joining us on this college reaction show. We're going to start in Knoxville, Tennessee. The Vols, as expected, rolled to a victory 56-0 behind 4 Hendon Hooker touchdowns, 3 passing, and 1 rushing.
Yeah, I mean, okay, that's kind of my reaction to it. I mean, I really think that everybody expected this to be this way. I mean, I think that what we saw from Hooker was, as Parker put it last week, he's the guy that gives you the higher floor and lower ceiling. He can definitely keep it in between the lines for us. But, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to really judge anything off of this because Tennessee Tech's just bad.
Yeah. What are you going to do against Tennessee Tech? I mean, we said they could have scored 30. They scored 60. It's whatever they wanted.
Name your score.
It literally was.
Yeah.
And Hooker looked, like you said, okay.
Yeah.
He did fumble it twice. I feel like we've had the same exact podcast about Tennessee for like 3 straight weeks and their quarterbacks, and like I don't really know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's hard to really gauge anything from, quite frankly, any team that we've played so far. I mean, even Pitt.
You know what I liked about this game? Their defense. The Vols defense forced 4 interceptions. They only allowed 37 rushing yards on 25 attempts.
Yep.
That's what an SEC defense should be doing to the likes of Tennessee Tech.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, I still have concern on their offensive line. I know they're going to get Cooper Mays back this week, but I don't know how much difference that's really going to make. I have real concern about them going up against an elite pass rush.
Offensive line is definitely an issue, and I kind of highlight that with the running game. Tyon Evans against Tennessee Tech, 15 rushes, 2.7 yards per carry.
Yep.
It's unacceptable. You always hear people say, well, I could do that. Well, I literally think we might have been able to do that against Tennessee Tech. I mean, 2.7 as an SEC team is not good. But at least the defense, Bradley's right, did go out and do what they're supposed to do. You're supposed to shut down Tennessee Tech. They're not supposed to score.
Yeah, I still question the secondary. The secondary will be tested like they haven't been tested, I believe, this entire year. Pitt gave them a test. Their quarterback's pretty good, I thought. But I'm not buying the Tennessee defensive backs.
Yeah, it's really difficult to be all in on them. And am I reading this right? He had 2 fumbles.
Yes.
That is a concern for me. Now I'm starting to say, is this a pattern that's developing with Hendon Hooker, with our quarterbacks in general, and in combination even with our offensive line? You know, are we having guys that are just running free and nailing our quarterback from behind, or are we holding the ball like a loaf of bread at the quarterback position and dropping the ball? I'm not really sure. I didn't get to see much of the game other than the highlights, so I lean on you guys to tell me. I mean, what's the story on these 2 fumbles here?
Well, it wasn't on TV locally. The really only thing you could see it was from on Twitter and on highlights.
There's nothing to see. I mean, when you play that type of team, they're not going to televise it.
Yeah.
How about this question? Who's the quarterback?
Exactly. That's what I have next. I put again. The question is Hooker, Milton, Hooker. We keep reading reports that it's Milton.
Here we go again.
But after that game and what we've seen in previous games, why? I
mean, again, we're going into week 4 now, and we don't have the guy at quarterback. We don't know who it is. I don't know what to say. I mean,
what's the coach saying, Parker?
He was asked Monday if Milton was going to be the starting quarterback if he was healthy, and his response was, "I don't speak in hypotheticals." So he's not saying anything. I don't know. And you know what? He's pulling. I'm just jumping ahead on this a little bit. He's pulling a Dan Mullen. You know, he knows who the quarterback's going to be.
Oh yeah.
He's just trying to get any type of advantage that he can get against Florida.
I agree with that. I think he's just working it a little bit.
But it's Hooker, right? It's going to be Hooker.
Is it? I don't know.
I think, but I'm like 55-45. I really don't know.
I mean, Hooker turns the ball over more probably than Milton does. But those overthrows that he's throwing are those picks.
Exactly. Milton's throwing the ball 10 yards.
Or can the defense even catch that?
He's throwing it 10 yards beyond the receiver, where Hooker is at least in the ballpark.
Milton's so bad that no one can intercept it.
Well, that's the thing.
Nobody.
I'm pretty sure he's overthrowing the safety on some of these.
The most likely person to catch his pass is the fat guy in the fourth row.
It is. I feel like next week is going to be our first like real Tennessee podcast. It's just been so difficult to read this team. I just don't. I'm kind of at a loss for words for what I expect from them.
Right.
I mean, we say that they had a good game, whatever. I mean, but I'm with Parker. I mean, there's not a guy even at running back that stepped up and just dominated the game. We didn't even have a 100-yard rusher in that game. I mean, and as well as they're trying to say Hooker played, I mean, he only had 199 yards.
He ran for 60-something. Why is he having to run for 60-something yards again? Since you just should be able to hand the ball off and not have to do anything. I mean, unless they're working him to get him ready for the next week, it should be a game that you should be able to just stand there and run it down their throat.
So from either of you, do you get the sense that my fear after this was the kind of up and down effect with really up, Vol Nation is up because they win week 1, then they're super, super low after the loss to Pittsburgh? Have they come way back up saying, hey, we're ready to win the SEC East? Is it that overreaction?
I think that is the tendency for Tennessee fans, but I am hoping, because I mean this is where I am. I'm guys, again, we're not one guy away from winning the SEC East. We're not. We're about 100 guys away, in my opinion. We got to cycle through this mess for a little bit. I think that we have to be real about where the program is, and the reality is, I mean, we lost a lot of folks. So I mean, when you have that amount of talent leave, there's going to be, I hate using the word rebuild, but there's going to be a little bit of rebuilding going on.
I think that overreaction was bigger in years past than it was this year. I think Tennessee fan has been so beat down. We're just like, everybody's just kind of on hold. You're too scarred to get too excited about something. Obviously they're not going to compete in the SEC East. If they're lucky to compete for third, like that would be a Super Bowl for them.
Yeah.
And again, I go back to this offense works. We went back to Pitt. They lost, but Milton's missing wide open people.
Yep.
So it's a good thing to look forward to. It's not like, oh my God, he's having to fit in these windows. It's just we're missing him. We just don't have the people.
Well, maybe you'll get to see some more of that Milton this week.
Yeah.
You have any other reactions to this game before we move to Florida?
Yeah, just kind of meh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did what you're supposed to do,
yeah.
UT. Moving on to the Florida Gators. Closer than we expected. 31-29 loss to Alabama. It's Alabama's 8th straight victory over Florida. To me, watching this game from play to play, why does it feel like it just came down to a missed extra point? These teams look way more even than I thought that they would.
I don't know. I think it's very interesting that we might be talking about, number one, before we start on that, I guess that's who this Florida team is. They're going to pound the ball right in your face, right down your throat. And I'm kind of shocked at how successful it was against Alabama. But then again, does that, as Parker alluded to last week, does that mean that there's maybe a chink in the armor there?
I think it does. I mean, we talked about it. You go back and listen to our preview podcast, and I think we nailed this game. Alabama's slightly overrated. Dan Mullins the whole time was pulling the wool over our eyes, saying he didn't know who was going to be the quarterback. He even came out and said Richardson was great and was going to be totally healthy and good to play. Didn't play a snap.
He wasn't even available, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, but he said he was, like on Thursday. If he plays, they win this game. Florida was the better team. If I take away the score, I take away the logos, and I go just down this boxed here, 439 to 324. Alabama, the team that is known for defense, gave up 258 rushing yards.
Yeah.
If this game was 5 more minutes, Florida wins this game. And maybe it's something to do with Bryce Young's first time start, not at home with real fans to cheer and be loud and all this stuff. But he came out strong, so maybe that wasn't it. I don't know. I just think this Alabama team, this is the first time in 3 years Alabama hasn't had an offensive play for more than 30 yards.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at it, I mean, they came out hot.
I thought Bryce Young looked really good. I mean, I'm talking from pillar to post. I believe he may be the next star.
I mean, he could be. I mean, but that's what I'm saying. They started off hot. I mean, they had 21 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Good grief. But I think you usually don't think about things like, mental discipline and focus with a Nick Saban team. But, I mean, you look at a game like that where you score 21 points in the first quarter and you don't score again until the third quarter. It kind of makes you think, did they just kind of lay down a little bit? Did they sleep on them a little bit?
I think you got to give a little bit of credit to the Gators defense. They finally stood up a little bit. They have a very good defensive line, and the linebackers coming into the year were rated in the top 1, 2, or 3 by PFF. I think they just finally settled down and just played some defense. What I was more worried about when they got down that much that quickly was, is Emory Jones going to have to throw the ball around the park?
That's what I was afraid of. Looking at this,
didn't look like it. They ended up with, as he mentioned, the 258, 4 touchdowns, almost 6 yards per carry. They're running the ball in Alabama.
That's who they are. I mean, that's just. I mean, I had a hard time believing it, but I mean, that's just who they are. And I mean, Alabama, is typically the team that's going to run the ball down your throat. And I mean, they had 91 yards rushing.
They remind me a little bit, the Gators do, of a college Baltimore Ravens. There doesn't matter what the score is, they're running it. Emory Jones played well, and down by plenty, and they just kept on pounding the ball. Still, though, this Alabama team, Bryce Young does look good, but he dinked and dunked it. I mean, all over the place. And then credit to Florida. And maybe it's just because Alabama's wide receivers and their weapons are better than anybody in the country, and all you got to do is get it to them, and it doesn't matter where it's at.
I believe that.
But I do think that we are looking at college landscape, and there's no one and everybody else anymore. I mean, if anybody's that one, it's Georgia. I think you can look at it right now and make an argument for who these top 4 teams are going to be in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the box score, I mean, Florida pretty much beat them almost in every category. I mean, it makes me think, did that first quarter just literally, it just put them so far behind the 8 ball. It was just a little too much for them to overcome.
I mean, it could be, I was thinking penalties, but now looking at the stats, I mean, even Bama had more penalties than Florida. It didn't feel that way, though, watching it live. I felt like maybe the Florida penalties were coming at a more inopportune time or something. Something made me think Florida
did the interception thrown, was it turned into a score?
I don't remember. I remember the interception. I'm trying to remember. I just think it was just too much out of the gate.
Too early.
It was, but credit to Florida for withstanding it. Because, I mean, I was looking at the live line, and they were favored by 22 points after the first 5 or 10 minutes.
I mean, it was like a hurricane coming through Gainesville, though. It was bad at the beginning.
It was bad.
Unstoppable.
Went somewhere to watch it, and me and my wife looked at each other after a couple of minutes. We're like,
this game's over.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Gators defense finally showed up. I mean, gosh darn it. Just like the UT Vols, I'm going to say this again. Jones, Richardson, Jones. I'm seeing Richardson doing backflips in the end zone before the game, but he was already ruled out with a hamstring. I mean, is this just a case of I'm saving him for UT? Are they going to unleash the beast?
I got to be careful giving away too much of what I'm going to say for the reaction or for the prediction show, but I don't know, man. There seems to be something up there.
I mean, they play him if he's available, right? They win that game.
He would have been available.
Oh, the game's easily.
They didn't
won,
let him dress. I mean, he was on the sideline. What he does.
College is amazing to me because they can tell you nothing. In the NFL, we kind of
You have to know everything.
Yeah, like you can keep it secret for a few days out, but when it gets time, like you got to know. You're going to know. And in college, man, it just does not. I don't know. His injury just has to be worse than when it was. But if he would have played that game, I absolutely think that they would have won, or maybe not. Emory Jones was fine. He was fine.
Yeah, I don't think Emory Jones was the reason they lost. I think they just got down too quick, too early.
My overall reaction as the Gator fan is wow. I didn't expect it, so I was pleasantly surprised. Picked them to lose, they lost, but man, it burns my biscuits that it may have been an extra point miss, made them chase this 2-point conversion the whole time. And Coach Mullen says, look, I don't want to get into specifics about that play, but he said he had one guy going the wrong way and a blocker blocking the wrong way. So a lot of miscommunication on a very important 2-point conversion.
Yeah, maybe.
What is up with these plays at the end where people mess them up? The NFL had something, Gators did something. A lot of these teams do it. Like you seem you're running your go-to play. My play, I'm going to get 2 yards on. Let's go. And I don't know what they did.
Most times they call timeout. They're coming right off of a timeout and they're still messing it up.
Yeah.
And you're at home.
Unbelievable.
At home. You guys got anything else?
No, man.
All right. Our game of the week. Auburn making the trip to Penn State. Some were questioning, can Auburn play outside of the SEC? Are they afraid of going to other venues? The whiteout. Penn State wins 28-20, but this was a pretty entertaining game.
Yeah, I didn't get to see much of it, but it looks like it. I mean, I'm not a huge Bo Nix fan by any stretch of the imagination.
I didn't see Auburn scoring 60 points against this defense.
No, this was a great game, though. The atmosphere was awesome. Auburn defense did really good against the run. They gave up a lot against the air. But I'll tell you what I took away from this, kind of like I did with Arkansas storming the fan against Texas, or the field against Texas. Penn State acts like they won the Super Bowl. They're playing a mid-level SEC team. They act like Alabama came up there and they beat them down. And honestly, they could have won this game. I mean, Auburn's play call at the end, the very last play, is my least favorite play in all of football. A 4th and goal fade with Bo Nix
throwing it out of bounds.
Didn't even have a chance.
Nope.
No chance. And the 3 plays before that were weird. There's just, I mean, yeah, you got. I just didn't understand it at all. I'd rather run a quick slant, run it, just hand it off more than that. I mean, there's not even literally an opportunity. So just the play calling was questionable to me, especially there at the end. But it was a great game. It was super fun. The whiteout was fun. And I saw someone point this out at Twitter. I know the white is Penn State's away uniforms, but when they do the whiteout, why don't they wear white?
That's a very astute question there.
1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2.
Yeah, whatever.
Also on this game, Auburn really seemed to be on the side of getting awful lucky with the zebras.
Oh, God. Did I hear that they had, like, someone miscounted the downs?
Yes.
No, I missed that.
They also, and the refs, the big thing is because the away team is the one that's supposed to bring the refs. So it's an SEC
crew.
Yes.
Jeez.
Which is a whole nother weird. Why is it not, when it's 2 separate conferences, why is it not a neutral?
I mean, you would think that would be the fair way to do it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, not like the SEC refs are for the SEC or Big Ten, but it appears.
Yeah, now the appearance of impropriety is there.
Well, it wasn't all.
Congratulations, Penn State. You beat Auburn.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Good victory. Hey,
whatever. F James Franklin.
Another SEC team lost, and Blake predicted it. Memphis upsets Mississippi State 31-29.
Go Tigers. Another weird play, though.
I've got to say, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
I don't know that I completely understand it.
They down it. They don't call it down. They do call it down. And there's 2 number 4s on the play, which should have been a penalty to begin with.
Oh, my God. That was
And
horrible.
no one initiated a replay. all of that is reviewable, apparently.
I hate the number thing, man.
It's a rule, though,
Yeah, it's stupid.
but still, it made no sense. It didn't matter. Honestly, Mississippi State should, you're an SEC team, so it shouldn't come down to that.
Should
anyway.
not have been that close in the first place.
And guys, and I made a mention this on Twitter, but I watched all weekend on Saturday, kicker after kicker in college, Memphis being one of them, make 51 and 52. How come when I watch on Sundays, NFL kickers can't make anything?
I don't know.
Lambeau.
I mean, Minnesota, our Titans missed somebody. I feel like I've watched these college kickers drilling them. Anyway.
Maybe the future of kicking is bright.
Maybe.
Hey, not all was lost in the SEC. The mighty Kentucky Wildcats win 28-23 over Chattanooga at home. Oh, wait, I don't think Terrell Owens is playing for Chattanooga anymore, right?
I don't think.
Jeez,
I mean, maybe.
This was a barn burner down in Kroger Field.
I mean, they were losing in the fourth.
Yes.
I don't know. Are they overlooking it? Like, I thought Kentucky was done with this type of stuff. I thought we were over that hump.
Me too.
And maybe they are. In years past, they lose this game. I just really thought maybe they're looking forward and, hey, let's beat them and not really show anything and get out of there. And then, oh, crap, we're almost going to lose this team.
I mean, you look at it. I mean, 2 interceptions thrown and a fumble lost.
That's 2 games in a row the quarterback hasn't looked that great.
And that's
After
a problem.
barn, I mean, he was on fire at the beginning.
I mean, they gave up a little bit of, okay, no disrespect to Chattanooga, but if you're giving up 171 yards rushing to Chattanooga, what?
Wait till you face the Gators.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, they might get 400 yards
in
on
Georgia.
They're going to get They're going to get right this weekend against my least favorite team ever, though, South Carolina.
Yeah, screw those guys.
Wow. Here's some more reaction. Miami, indeed, lost to Michigan State 38-17. I think we all wanted to take this as our upset pick, but none of us pulled the trigger because we thought it was too easy of a pick.
Why did we not do that?
We thought it was a given. So we were like, hey, let's think outside the box.
Yeah.
But Miami, one of Blake's favorites to talk about.
Yep. Throwing out that Miami hate. I'm all about it. Again, fumbles lost, 2 interceptions, 2. I mean, good grief, guys. I mean, they're just not good. I'm sorry. The U is not the U right now.
Well,
bye.
I'll ask the question to Parker. Michigan State, are they any count?
Actually, yeah, that was going to be my point. I think Michigan State is one of the best run games in the entire country. They're really underrated. They should be more like a top 10, 12 team than 20. Miami, I'm with Blake. I don't think they're that good. I think that they've played Alabama, and now they play this Michigan State team, which I think is really underrated. I just think they kind of ran into a buzzsaw, and Michigan State's is playing really well right now, and Miami's not. So bring those together.
Yeah, I mean, they had 52 yards rushing. That's one-dimensional. 388 yards passing, 52 yards rushing
in a home game.
I mean,
they were down most. I watched a lot of this. They were down most of the game, so they were having to pass. So they were really in like that situation. So I didn't see them run that much. I don't know how many attempts they had, but
I mean, they gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
good God, just roll over and die. Why don't you?
That's what they did.
It was.
They couldn't help it. They couldn't stop Michigan State.
Just lay there.
It was bad. I went to go to the restroom where I was watching the game, and I came back, and it was like, what happened while I was gone, man? They're down even more now?
Yeah, it's whenever teams get into desperation mode, a lot of mistakes happen, and that turns into quick turnaround and points for the other team. So it spilled. It was a bad formula for Miami.
They're terrible.
Number 3, Oklahoma squeaks away. And I can't even say that it was a good Nebraska team. I think they're actually horrible. But when you traditionally think Oklahoma, Nebraska, you're like, oh, this is going to be a powerhouse game. It shouldn't have been, but this final score was 23-16.
Nebraska's not good.
No.
Their coach isn't good. He's going to be fired. This was scary. We say this every single week, I feel like now. Oklahoma, someone sneaks up on them, and they just barely get away with it. Someone's going to get them. The Heisman favorite before this year was Spencer Rattler, and he's not even on the sheet anymore. He's not playing well. This is not a, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts Oklahoma team. They're going to lose to somebody. And their fans aren't even having fun. Did y'all say they had to come out and apologize to all their fans because they keep running out of concessions?
Oh, my God. Man, keep the food and drink coming.
Yeah. I mean, if we can't watch good football, at least keep us
keep us fed.
Exactly. So, no, there's
keep
not
us hydrated.
Oklahoma, maybe they'll get it right and we don't even think about this.
I really don't like anything about Oklahoma.
No.
Blake, did you see any stats that stand out? Or
No.
is this just kind of ho-hum?
It's just ho-hum. I mean, they're wearing guys out on the ground. Eric Gray had 84 yards. I mean, for all you Tennessee fans out there that are still salty. I mean, they're just not that impressive.
No.
I said it. Sorry.
I got nothing. I think 3 feels like it's too high of a rating.
It is. They're just there because they're Oklahoma and that's where you start at. And they hadn't lost a game. So,
Yeah. Well, number 6, Clemson didn't look much better. They escaped with a 14-8 victory over Georgia Tech.
This offensive line, when could I have come to you and said at the beginning of the year and go, hey, Georgia Tech's going to go into Clemson, push the offensive line around so much they're going to get a safety?
No.
Clemson, just their offensive line, they don't have any time to do anything. I mean, it's really, really bad with how down this ACC is. Even if Clemson runs the table with this Georgia loss, if it continues like it is, unless something crazy breaks their way, I think they're out of the playoff condition.
Is the Georgia loss like weighing mentally on these guys? Because there's a problem, it seemed like.
I mean, this is another game. I mean, you look at the stats, you look at the box score. I mean, they got whipped up and down the field. I mean, they got lucky on this one. They really did.
Yeah, I just don't. This is kind of going back to the Alabama discussion. We talked about this at the beginning. There's not a clear favorite. Look, we're going through all the favorites: Alabama, Oklahoma, Clemson, and we're sitting here saying, are they that good?
They're not proven to be a lot of the time.
No. This might be one of those years where somebody sneaks up.
It might.
Yeah.
You get in the playoffs, you never know what'll happen.
There's a darling out west too. You want to have something on this North Carolina stuff?
Oh, no, he was talking about long shots sneaking up, and that was going to be who I was going to bring up. I mean, they lost, especially if you lose early and you just run the table.
That Virginia Tech thing.
They lose to Virginia Tech. They come out and they just destroy, obviously,
As
Georgia
they're supposed
State
to.
and Virginia Tech. But Howell didn't look good in this game, and if he gets in his normal form and they just go through here and just kill all these teams,
they could do it.
I mean, there's just one of the – he mentioned long shot that made me think, like, this is a team that could beat Notre Dame, obviously. And who knows? Never know.
It's the schedule, though, that helps them. They could put up 50 points a game with this type of schedule that I'm staring at.
ACC champs?
And
why not?
They've got some decent teams on it. It's not like they're playing, the Citadel. I mean, they're playing
Miami.
Yeah, Miami, Notre Dame, Pitt, NC State. Like, they actually have some names on here.
Wofford.
Well, I know I know that Miami's going to be a win. Suck it, Miami.
Yeah. There's a darling out west, though, that we'll touch on briefly. UCLA, they're starting to get a lot of hype, but they fall, too. 40-37 to Fresno. I was not awake for this.
Oh, man. I unfortunately was. It was a fantastic game. UCLA's good, but Fresno State, I just think...
Whoa. I just pulled up the box score. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It was back and forth. Fresno State, they almost beat Oregon a couple of weeks ago. Like, this team is good.
They're legit. Look at these numbers.
Yeah. UCLA did not lose this game. They just
They got beat.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they doubled them up in first downs. Fresno State did. They're good. I need to see who they're playing next, honestly.
They had 91 total plays. 455 yards passing, 114 rushing for 569 total. Dude. 40 minutes, 20 seconds time of possession to 1940.
19 minutes?
Yeah.
Not even 20 minutes.
I mean, that's another example of that fast-paced offense handing the ball back to the defense, though.
What do you see on Fresno's schedule?
UNLV, Hawaii, nothing. I mean, they should. Boise
State.
Yeah, but Boise's.
I mean, I've read Wyoming's okay.
They could run this,
Man.
And with that, I mean, look at that.
We're finding some sleepers here, boys.
All right. We'll keep that name.
Come
in
on,
mind.
let's write this stuff down, guys.
Before we wrap this up, we got to go to West End, folks. We got to talk about Vandy Vanderbilt coming off a win. Unfortunately, they lose 41-23. Parker was high on them this week. Your thoughts?
I was high on it, well, mainly just because it was fun. But hey, I still am high on Vandy. Clark Lee's got them going in the right direction. They scored the first. This is sad that I'm even saying this, but they scored the first in the first quarter. That's the first time they've done that this year. Congratulations, Vandy. 14-14 with like 4 minutes to go in the half. I'm thinking, awesome. They're going to go into halftime, make some adjustments, and then they Vandied it. And in the last four,
I snorted.
That's what they did in the last 4 minutes. They gave up 13 points, and all of a sudden you go from being 14-14 to 27-14. It's just done. So that's the kiss of death.
You're chasing at that point.
And Vandy's not a team that can chase.
They just don't have the firepower to come back like that.
But it was fun. It was good for a little bit.
So does this indeed mean Stanford rules in not only football but in academics?
I think they're
just plain smarter.
Yeah, they get to take that home with them.
I think you're right. Unless it's baseball.
No, there you go.
Right. They always have baseball and women's bowling, Vandy.
There you go. Come on.
That's all I've got. Unless you guys got anything else you want to say about college.
I'm just still going to say, watch this. I've been harping this for like 3 weeks, and this Iowa team sucks. I don't care that they're undefeated. They're not good.
All they do is win, no matter what.
Whatever, dude. Golly. Yep, Miami. You're terrible.
As soon as we get to his place, we'll have the Iowa flag.
Iowa flag.
Iowa man cave.
Anyways, all right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today, guys. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at DDS Sports Talk. Leave us a comment there. Go ahead and like, subscribe down below. Leave us some comments. Tell us your reaction to the games from this weekend past. Any parting thoughts, guys, before we sign off?
Hey, I was impressed by Florida. I'm glad they got out of that game with little to no injuries.
Yeah, well. All right, guys. Well, you guys be well.